Coming up on This Week in Radio Tech, you get that great feeling when you put a new radio station on the air, you punch your radio and you hear it for the first time, you hear music, you see the RDS on the FM. It's a great feeling. Well, Andy Denoncour, Grady Moates, and Frank Licata all join us for this 4th of July special on putting a new FM station on the air. Coming up next on TWiRT. This Week in Radio Tech is brought to you by Broadcasters General Store with outstanding service, savings, and support. Online at bgs.cc. By Broadcast Bionics with the Bionic Studio, including talk show control, social media, and visual radio. Broadcast Bionics brings exceptional audience engagement to radio and TV. By Angry Audio. Audio problems disappear when you get angry at angryaudio.com. By Nutel, worry-free transmission you can count on with outstanding control, reliability, efficiencies, and Nutel's unmatched 24/7 customer support. Online at Nutel.com. And by Max Connect Wireless, prioritized high-speed internet service designed for transmitter sites and remote broadcasts. Hey everybody, welcome in. It's This Week in Radio Tech, our 4th of July edition. I'm Kirk Harnack, your host, in the Telos Alliance studio in Nashville, Tennessee. It is a beautiful day here. Okay, look, I'll be honest with you. We're recording this on Monday, July the 1st, because we got things to do on the 4th of July. But we're going to pretend like it's the 4th of July. It's a day of celebration, independence, radio independence on this episode. And we got a great show for you. Sadly, so sadly, Chris Tarr is still recovering from COVID and some bronchitis. He's getting better, but he's not feeling well. So, hey, send him good thoughts. Say a prayer for Chris Tarr. Sorry, Chris Tarr, I should say. And he'll be on. Hopefully, next Thursday, we'll get him on. All right, we got some guests to bring in. I'm doing the switching on the show myself. Suncast not doing it. That means there's a real non-pro doing it. So I'm going to hit one button, and I'm going to show you everybody who's here. In 3, 2, 1, boom. There we go. Look, I made it happen. Let's see. We'll go in Brady Bunch order here. We have Andy Denoncour. Am I saying your name right, Andy?
Yes, just like Den plus Encore.
Awesome. Andy, tell us why you're here today.
Well, I'm here for because I helped my buddy Frank there in the lower left for me to put his LP on the air recently. In addition to working at Comrex and a bunch of contract clients. And
you do work at Comrex. You did support for years, and now you're designing Comrex things.
In engineering, repair, and things like that.
Yeah. Good. All right. And by the way, I should have mentioned our show topic today. I'm calling it a working title, New Station, Big Turn On. So I love putting a new station on the air. We're going to bring that joy to you. We're also going to talk about the technicalities of putting a new LPFM, in this case, on the air. And it's just like putting a full power station on the air. Just, the transmitter's smaller. Also here, let's see, in clockwise order on my screen, Grady Moates is here. Grady, hey, good to see you, man.
Good to be here. Long time, Kirk.
Yeah. Saw you in New York State at the Idea Bank. It was good to catch up with you there.
Yeah. We've done a couple of those with you.
Yeah. You had something to do with this LPFM turn on?
Well, actually, I've been working a lot with Frank over the last 8 years. We've done a lot of projects together, and he was on the phone with me and on connections through like TeamViewer for a long time before he built it, so that we could talk about plans and stuff like that. And they did such a good job of it. Other than giving him suggestions from a distance and listening to it, I never actually went to the site for the build out.
Well. See, what a good engineer you are. You can just tell them how to do it remotely.
You can keep thinking that.
Well, speaking of Frank's here below me and on the lower left part of our screen. Frank, welcome in.
Yes, sir.
Good to see you.
Hello. Well, I'm just I'm a lot simpler guy than these two big brains over here on my right. They take care of engineering at a lot of stations in the Northeast, and I basically met them doing electrical wiring. I'm an electrician. I work Massachusetts and New Hampshire, and transmitter sites need power, so I just run wires, just a guy who runs wires. But I've always loved radio since my youth, college radio, and I had a couple of overnight, gigs at a couple commercial stations, but always loved radio. Just never really got behind the mic. Just recently I just wire stuff up basically. So anyway, when the LPFM came out, I got really excited about it in 2000. That was the first round of them, and I watched from afar. I wired up a few, and then came 2013 was the second one. Wired up some more, and then came this recent one, 2023, and I'm like, you know what? That doesn't seem that hard to do. Why don't I just apply? And so there was nearly 1,400 applicants nationwide. New Hampshire, which is my second home. I live in Massachusetts. My summer place is in New Hampshire, where I am now. And there was really just about a handful of them. And we were the only one in northern New Hampshire, the White Mountain Lakes region. I thought there would be a slew of them. There's some pretty big vacation communities around here. We were the only one. So there was no competition. I mean, we had 5 channels available. We could have taken our pick of either of them. So I was all worried about the whole thing, and it just turned out to be no big deal. Right now, I'm sitting in the studio, which is also the transmitter site for now, and it's in the boiler room of my cottage. I'll show you around. I mean, there's a water tank, a water heater, and a furnace right over here. And so Andy helped me build this computer over here. It's really a powerhouse. It's like, with the gamers, the young kids get these $3,000 computer systems. Well, he's basically said, why spend that kind of money? We can just go buy all the parts, put it together, and put a killer sound card, Audio Science. I mean, I found it off of eBay for a couple $100, and I put this thing together on a shoestring. I don't think I spent $10,000 out of my own pocket on the whole thing, and it's on the air now.
Wow. We're gonna, Frank. How do I say your last name properly?
Licata.
Licata.
It's
okay.
actually Licata. It's the name of a town in Sicily. My father's side is from there. My mother's side's from Ireland, so I like to eat and drink, and then beat myself up and make myself an offer I can't refuse.
Hey, maybe your ancestors know Frank Fode's ancestors. There's a chance of that.
Don't know.
Yeah. Looks like Grady had to step out for a second. He'll be right back. But we're going to, Frank, hang tight because we've got a job for you to do here. It's time to do our ad for our terrific sponsor, Nutel. And I'll give a little preview. Frank has a Nutel transmitter behind him, and it's not quite all unpacked yet. Even though it's on the air, there's a little bit more to do. In fact, I'll bring up. We're going to do a little ad for Nutel, talking about their VX series, because there's a VX transmitter right there behind Frank. And Frank, you feel welcome to go ahead and get set up back there if you want to get the camera a little bit closer. The VX series is the latest series of analog transmitters from Nutel. These are, I started seeing these a couple of years ago when they were getting ready to ship them. And these VX series transmitters are just gorgeous because first of all, they're really easy to work on. They're very modular. The power supply pops right out if you need to swap out the power supply or just take it out to blow the dust out of it or clean it. The PA module, and that's something that, if you get really slammed by lightning, you might indeed at some point have a failed PA module. Well, the VX series, it's really easy to swap out the PA module. I forget if I can say there's no soldering involved, but there's certainly, if there's any, it's minimal, and I'm just not sure that there is any soldering involved. Really? Wow. And I've got several Nutel FM transmitters at my own stations. The VX is what I'm pining for next. The next station we build, they're available from 150 watts up to 6 kilowatts. They are intended for analog FM. These don't do HD radio. These are for analog FM. And if you're an LPFM, they have sizes from 150 watts and 300 watts. So they got all the built-in, the filtering that's necessary for that to happen. The Nutel VX series. And Frank, I'm going to make you full screen here. We're going to continue the Nutel ad, and tell us what you're about to do here. What are you going to do to this Nutel VX?
Yeah, I never really take the plastic off. I don't know, one of those. I don't know if it's an Italian thing or not, but so we're gonna pull the plastic off. This is the VX 300. I'm very happy with it. We're very happy with it. And here's the little sheet right here. That look at that. It's breaking the virginity of the Nutel.
Oh my gosh!
And I'll autograph it. I'll autograph it and send it to you.
There you go.
That's great. Some people just leave that plastic on. I've gone to people's houses where they still have the plastic on the TV set.
Oh, well, I'm going to put it back on for the next podcast and pull it off again.
There you go. Oh my gosh. Wow. That is so cool. So, Frank, hey, make your way on back. I'll finish up the ad here. You make your way on back. We are there we go. Oh, there we go. A little behind the scenes. Nutel is our sponsor, and they're doing all kinds of great things at Nutel. Go to their website. Lots of resources to be had at the website. Of course, manuals and white papers and things like that. Online calculators for coverage, interference, TPO, all that kind of stuff is online at Nutel.com. Thanks a lot, Nutel, for sponsoring This Week in Radio Tech. All right, we're talking about putting a new FM station on the air, an LPFM. Frank gave us a little bit of a clue that, Frank, is this licensed to you or to a nonprofit or something? How's that work?
LPFMs are not allowed to be licensed to people. They have to be licensed to a nonprofit.
Okay.
So basically, when the window was announced last year, I formed a nonprofit, and it's really not that hard to do. You give the state a couple $100, you get a few of your buddies together, my neighbors up here, we all sit around the beach, and we're like, let's start a radio station. They're like, yeah, whatever you want to do. It's because prior to that, I used to play music for the 4th of July fireworks display we would have, and they knew me as like the local DJ. And then, so it was. I just needed a board of directors. So we threw together a few people, and we had a mission. We already were very active in the community anyway. So we formed Ossipee Public Media Incorporated. The name of our town is Ossipee. We're in Ossipee, New Hampshire. This is let me do a shameless plug here. This is my T-shirt here. Ossipee 1023 that's the moniker we're using, because that's the all the social media is that.
It won't be confused with anybody else, that's for sure.
Yeah. It's a Native American name. It's a wonderful town. We have a lake. It's a beautiful lake. We're to the east of Winnipesaukee, a little bit much smaller, close to Maine, close to the border of Maine. So we formed the nonprofit. That wasn't that hard to do. I did it myself. LegalZoom, you go online, and then I applied. So it's our nonprofit that. And Andy is on the board. He's like Andy and I are 2 out of the 6. It's a board of 6. Huh. So we filed with the state. The IRS gave us 501c3 status, which is tax-free status, which is nice because now I have a little donation button on the website. You can get a tax write. Anyone that gives us money gets a tax write-off, which is good. Local business. We can't have commercials. Non-commercial, but if a local business wants to sponsor us, we can acknowledge them and say, "Music this hour brought to you by such and such a business."
Yeah.
So it's my hope. Like right now, I'm funding the whole thing, but it's my hope that the community will really adopt this, and I'll just be the founder, and I can then step back and let the community run it. Maybe it's the school system, maybe it's the town, maybe I don't really know. I just know that I wanted to get it started and see where it would go.
This interesting thing about sponsoring, supporting LPFMs, I think on your website and on your RDS, because you got RDS, I want to hear about that later. I think I'd be, hey, 10 songs for $1. And if you want some peace and quiet, you can get 20 minutes of dead air for $1.50.
I love it. I'll do that. Andy had a great idea. He said, let's do RDS message of the day, where somebody would pay us, say they throw $20, $30, $40, I don't know. And on the RDS, it would say, marry me, Jeannie, or something. It would be whatever that message would be, or Johnny's a creep, or anything like that. And this way here, people would see that, right, and then say, I want to do that, right? How do I do that? I want to be on the dashboard.
Oh my gosh,
I don't know.
We've got so much to talk about. I do have a couple of pictures though, just in case your picture was a little bit grainy. Watching Frank peel that off, I've got. Here we go, Frank. Tell me what's going on right here.
Oh, that was when we fired it up. That we put it together. Andy was here. He drove 2 hours up here, worked a 14-hour day, put it together. I told him to stay over. He's like, no, I got to get back to the dog. And he's a workaholic. That's one of the things that I like about the people that I hang around with. Are all workaholics like me. Grady as well. They just work is our enjoyment. Really, that's what we do.
Now,
So yeah, that was we were getting ready to turn it on, or maybe we did turn it on then. Yeah.
Grady being very technical, I wonder if we get ready to put a word in here. Grady, what's in that rack? Tell me what's there, top to bottom. What are we looking at?
Oh, let me. Well, the EAS box is one of the Sage boxes, and it's like the top blue thing, and the thing underneath it is the new Nutel transmitter.
Yeah.
And underneath that, I can't see what it is. The two Rolls boxes above that are probably the EAS receivers.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Okay, and I can't see the thing at the very top here. Let me make my screen bigger, and maybe the picture will get larger.
Well, maybe Andy or Frank could chime in there. What's above the Rolls receivers?
Oh, that's just one of those surge. It's a surge strip where we plug the power in and out.
Oh, yeah, like one of those Furman strips or
Furman strip. Yeah, it's a mid-Atlantic. Yeah, okay. I should say that the rack, as well as much of our equipment, was donated. I had to only buy about half the equipment. The rest came from another LPFM that donated. I still have a garage full of equipment, like well, Andy can tell you some of the big names of like the big mixer we got, but there was another LPFM from the second generation that wanted to pay it forward because they got their start with a donation from a first generation LPFM. So they literally called me up and said, "Come down to the studios and take everything, furniture, equipment." It was a town TV, a local access TV studio in Manchester, New Hampshire. They had an LPFM, and they gave us all this stuff. I mean, now some of it we couldn't use, some of it we did use. So it was amazing, like how people do that. Like paying it forward, like with equipment. It was like that really jump started us, I think.
And that little mixer that looks like a Mackie or something like that.
Yeah, that the Mackie. The Mackie they gave me in the transmitter thing is junk. But this one here I just picked this one up here. This is pretty nice. The Mackie Onyx, ONYX, I guess you say.
Onyx. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, Onyx. Yeah. It's a beauty. And Andy's going to help me hook it in right now. Right now, what we have is the computer automation is going directly over to the transmitter.
Okay.
But here's some of the stuff that was also donated. Just a tuner and amplifier and headphone amplifier. Oh, and this Comrex here. Speaking of Andy, Comrex DH30 there. But yeah, we got an automation system that we're running. We are running. It's called Station Playlist.
No.
Station Playlist.
Sorry about that.
Station Playlist. I'm still trying to get used to Station Playlist for the automation. Yeah, I should have went with my friend Grady's suggestion. He had a Linux-based suggestion, but for some reason we bought Station Playlist for like $600 or something.
Hey, there are people using Station Playlist. They love it. It hasn't. I tried it out once. It wasn't my favorite, but a lot of people just love it. They really do. All right, so we have another picture here, Frank. What are we looking at?
Okay, so that you're looking at this here, right in front of me. That's the thing I just showed. Just basically our display and our mixer and our gaming keyboard. It looks like.
Okay, so that's your automation is there, obviously. And
the automation is in the rack to the left of me here. Yeah, it's right to the left of the screen. It's in this rack here. It's this computer that Andy built.
Okay, all right, and let me see if I can bring
this
up
one here.
The last, the next photo. Oh, yeah. Okay, hang on. Let me put this one up again. Usually Suncast is my producer, and this goes more smoothly.
Yeah, that's on the wall. That's basically, there was a couple of newspaper articles. What happened was, so in New Hampshire, in the White Mountain Lakes region, there's the Conway Daily Sun from North Conway, New Hampshire, and they approached us and they said, "Hey, we heard about this. Can you send us a picture?" And that picture is in a full power station in the Boston area that Andy takes care of engineering. Guy in the middle is a DJ friend of mine. He's providing me with some programming and mixes and stuff. So the Sun did the story, the Conway Daily Sun, and then we got called by the Lawrence Eagle Tribune. That's another big one in the northeastern Massachusetts. And they said, "Hey, we heard about you in the Conway Sun. We'd like to do a story." And they showed up at my house. And that's some of the stuff that's in my garage. That's the mixer. Andy, I'm not sure the brand of that. That's
a Radio Systems mixer that we have. That one there is a PRD.
Yeah, radio. Yeah, that was a donated item from the other LPFM.
Okay, so the one you're pictured with is a Radio Systems. The one that's behind us in the three of us, that's a PRD.
Gotcha.
Then we didn't use either. We just went with this one here because it's simplicity at this point. Right now, I'm not even using a mixer, just the automation into the transmitter.
I can't help but notice that in the rack there is a Crown D75 audio amplifier, the number one cause of deafness among rock jocks.
Oh, if you stick your headphones in that and you turn that up, your ears will blow off your face.
Oh my gosh! Wow! Hey guys, this is so much fun. We have a video to look at after our next commercial break. We got a video of the turn on of the station, the one you put on Facebook. Okay.
Yeah, Andy fired it up. I went out to my car and looked at the dashboard. Yeah, basically.
All righty. Obviously, Frank, you've got so much excitement about this, and we're going to incorporate. I want you to talk about the feeling of putting a new station on the air. And Andy, I don't know if you have much experience with that. I'm sure that that Grady has experience putting new stations on the air. Grady, when we come back from our next commercial, can I get you to talk more about the technicalities of putting a new station on the air, whether it's this one or whether others? What are some of the things that you're going to be thinking about to make sure that you have on hand? When do you need to talk to a consultant or somebody who's really put stations on the air before, who's been through this rodeo? So we'll ask you about that.
And actually, if you could just talk about Salisbury, Massachusetts, he just fired up another one of these for a mutual customer of ours.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. Oh, it's in a water tower. He can tell you about that.
Yeah. We built that one Saturday, turned it on Saturday, and now we're just working out a few small things. But very interesting project on that one. 250-foot water tank. So.
Awesome. Well, we're gonna take a break right now for just a minute. We're gonna be back. And we're gonna hear a word from our friends at Broadcast Bionics, and we're gonna hear about the Bionic Studio. Be right back.
Welcome to the Bionic Studio. The Bionic Studio brings all audience interaction to the fingertips of a production team in radio, TV, and podcast. Our workflow-led system is working 24/7 around the world for small broadcasters and national and international networks. Our telephony module, Bionic Talk Show, allows cost-effective centralization, remote operation, scalability, and resilience across an entire network of stations, but at the same time is used in single-studio self-op environments. Social media curation and activity is now considered a broadcast-critical part of programming. Bionic Social means the studio isn't overwhelmed with a wall of interaction from an ever-growing number of social platforms. We combine SMS, MMS, and email, together with a speech-to-text service for listeners using smart speakers. We enable studio teams to curate, filter, and display all platforms in one place, and post text, images, and video content to multiple platforms in one operation. Effortless collection of video content with Bionic Director has helped position some of the world's most successful stations as leaders in viral content, generating appointments to listen and free marketing via retweets and shares. Bionic Contest enables end-to-end tracking of on-air competitions, live reads, and prizes. These could be on-air contests, automated SMS entry, or online. Anywhere, and Skype TX for Radio brings high-quality audio and video contribution into the studio with ease. No need for dedicated PCs to run different applications. Everything is controlled within the Bionic Studio UI, and incoming connections are visible to users along with all other platforms. Our codec integration enables connection, algorithm configuration, and directory to a wide range of IP and ISDN codecs. The Bionic Studio, a unique suite of products designed to enable your talent to work smarter.
And one of the coolest things about the Bionic Studio is if you're an engineer and you have the opportunity to recommend Broadcast Bionics products for use at your broadcast facility, you're going to be loved by the on-air talent, and eventually the management is going to see the results that you get from all the social interaction and bringing people into and out of programming and how easily things are surfaced. Check it out, Broadcast Bionics. These guys really, really get it. All right, I'm here with some terrific guests. We have Andy Denoncour, we have Frank Licata, and we have Grady Moates here talking about putting a new LPFM on the air. Frank, you mentioned that Andy has just put something else on the air. Andy, why don't you give us a little taste of what you've been doing with a new radio station?
Yeah, so I got the opportunity to connect with WGGG 94.1 in Salisbury. It's a station sale. and that was going to entail a move from basically a residential setting to the top of a water tank. So we got that, and we turned it around in about a month from the time we initially looked at the water tank, and we put it on the air June 30th. Very interesting project. I've never been inside a water tank. I had no idea how huge those places really were. I used my usual crew, Frank, and some of my friends in the tower business to get everything up there and working real well.
Now you say inside, was this one of those run-of-the-mill steel water tanks or something different?
It was not the lattice style. This was like a single column in the middle of concrete. And obviously it's like a giant concrete pipe holding the tank up. So inside, you'll see cable runs, probably 100 different cables, 1 5/8" stuff going up for cell providers. And it was the first time I'd ever been in one. I, lived in the area. I've been by this one millions of times, never thought twice until I got to see inside. And I was, wow, this is amazing.
So was there room to work, or room for a transmitter somewhere up high, or was it at the foot? Where's the equipment?
So on the base level, there was a full cell site, all the external amplifiers and everything, and then it went up with 1 5/8". There was basically a second floor that had like a graded floor for another cellular carrier. Mm-hmm. And we were able to place a single rack up on that second floor. And we had luckily clearance to go right up in the rack next to the cellular guys stuff. And we were able to clip in there, and went really well.
Wow. Okay. All right. Grady, what's been keeping you busy lately, and your interaction with this particular project? Just kind of give your thoughts on that, and what else has been happening for you lately.
Well, it's very interesting, the comments you just had about water tanks. When I first went to work for UMass Boston in like 1982, their antenna was in the bottom of a granite quarry with a tower that didn't reach above the edge of the hole in the ground. It had been put in by a guy who didn't make the guy wires taut, so it leaned over kind of like a fishing pole. So they got permission to move to the top of a water tank on a nearby hill. But this was an interesting one because it was a very old one that was a steel can, kind of like a soft drink can, surrounded by a granite stone tower to make it look like a castle tower, with a crenellated parapet up top.
Yeah.
The space between the outside of the metal tank where the water was that went all the way to the ground, and the inside of the granite walls of the thing around it was only about 3 feet wide. And that was my transmitter room. We had to get stuff in there, and you had to be skinny to get past the rack to behind it. The way to the roof was on a spiral staircase that went up inside the granite, and you had to get ladders and climb over the transmitter room that I built to get to that stairway and then go up to the top. And then there was a hatch that opened and you could get out on the roof. Water tanks are always a wonderful experience, and there are no two of those experiences that are alike.
I agree. If you actually, they made as our tower guys were out there putting up a couple different things for us, someone flew a drone, and I believe if you search YouTube for 94.1 WXBJ antenna installation, you might see some details there. Give you an idea of not what it looks like inside, but outside you can see our crew up on the top there. It's pretty good.
I've got some inside pictures I could send, but I should have did that earlier, I guess.
Yep, had no idea how spacious those things were. No clue at all.
I'll be looking for that video, but I'm not seeing it yet.
I can send you the pictures of the inside of that place if you want right now. If it's enough time to do it.
It's almost too much for me to do at the same time as doing this show. If I could find that video, If anybody has a link, there's a private chat. I think, yeah. Okay. There's a comments button probably you can find, and hit that and hit a private chat. Oh no, that's live viewer. Oh yeah, there's a button that says private chat in your interface there.
Let me see if I can have a quick look while you guys.
Well, and while you're looking for that, I'll mention years ago I got to go to France and help install some Omnia processing in France, and this station had a lot of little translators. They were not receiving over there. They were actually kind of self-contained. They would receive the programming via, I guess they were rebroadcasting, but then they would do local insertions for each little town. Towns like Le Mans, like where the Le Mans race is, and a little town called Pithiviers and some other towns. Anyway, these were in those water towers, and they call them water castles, or the direct English translation would be water castles. These are the ones that are shaped like a martini glass and made out of concrete, right? You may have, I've seen a few of those in the U.S. Those actually have a fair amount of room in them up at the top. And so there's a decent sized space, maybe the size of a small bedroom, where you have some equipment. And we put transmitters in there and Omnia processing and ISDN codecs. And the one thing I sure noticed, though, was the whole tank of water was just right there next to us. It was rather humid in there because there's water just right there. So I don't know how well the equipment fared years later, but that's how they were doing it. If you couldn't afford a big transmitter on the Eiffel Tower, that's how you covered other areas.
Yeah, I have some questions about that myself because the ocean, as you'll see in the video, is very, very close. So, yeah.
Okay, gotcha. Let me paste that in. You guys chat among yourselves while I prepare this. Okay. We'll get it ready to go here.
I have to say that the selection of the mixer that you're using now is that's one of my favorite mixers. Those Mackie mixers they're inexpensive, they're small, and that particular mixer, the right-hand set of faders can be wired up to be left and right channel on a single fader, so that you don't have to worry about sliding two faders up and down at the same time and putting the thing across it. It's a very, very slick product that Mackie put out. I've put probably half a dozen of those into small production rooms and to smaller stations.
Yeah.
All right. So I've got this video ready. Hopefully I've turned the volume on it down to where we can talk over it if we want to.
Just music.
Yeah, it's not terribly exciting, but there it is. And that part you're seeing at the bottom is completely open. There's a full set of ladders and everything else in there.
Okay.
And right now, the top of it is docked to the International Space Station.
That's what it looks like, doesn't it? Yeah, you'll see in a second there that the porthole, I guess, whatever they.
The hatch.
The hatch.
The hatch. I see this. I sure see the cell antennas. At the top of the tower, but under the tank. You see the cell antennas there.
Yep. The first floor, which you call ground level, and the second floor are all cellular gear. They go, there's a ladder inside, goes up, and then there's a small catwalk to bring them under the hatch. And then there's a second ladder with, full safety clips and all that, that they worked up through the top there. And
what power level is this station?
This was 100 watts ERP.
Okay, and so obviously it covers the vacation town there.
Oh yeah. That you can see. Obviously we went a little on the directional side, so as not to give the fishes anything to work with. But yeah, we just use the Scala antenna. Fairly basic, but it does pretty well inland now. So you're all pretty happy about that.
So it's directional. So you're transmitting to Mr. and Mrs. America, but not all the ships at sea.
That is correct. Yes.
Okay. Probably.
Yep.
Smart. Wow.
Yep. I think they might. I think there's a time when they probably go in for a little bit closer view. You can see our two guys on that.
Oh, there we go. Yeah, there's a close view.
Yeah. You'll see our guys up top.
How do locals pronounce the name of that town? Salisbury?
Salisbury. Yep,
Okay.
Salisbury. Like Salisbury steak, I guess.
Yeah.
Yep.
That is fascinating. Is that some IP radio gear there?
Yeah, there's some municipal stuff, police, fire, couple things. And we're basically adding, actually tonight, we're adding a Wi-Fi link to get some brick links online for their programming. And so we put that up, and we put our Scala antenna. And we've been very pleased so far with what we have there.
You know, as long as Andy, I've got you here, I'm going to go ahead and stop this, and we'll go back to just a four square of us. Andy, of course, I work for the folks at Telos Alliance, and so you know, I don't really have a lot of insight into Comrex gear, but I know that when people are talking about STLs. Thank goodness, there's all different kinds of ways that we can handle STLs nowadays.
Oh, yeah.
And so you mentioned Bricklink, and that's a name that I hear quite a bit. How are you, when you're talking to customers about, hey, we need to get audio from here to there, what are some of the things that you're telling them?
Well, the biggest thing, you know, I mean, and it's not because of my affiliation with the company. They just are a better product than some of the other things that I will not name. There's just so many features that can help, you know, in a power recovery situation, link down, link up. And that's why I use the product in addition to working here. But, you know, in this case, it was very tricky because it was done because of our tower climber schedule. It was done fairly quickly. And they didn't have internet. They wanted to get municipal fiber, but the construction of the fiber was going to be $40,000. So our quickest way was really to get a Wi-Fi shot back to their municipal network, their wireless network, and that will be what carries our signal, hopefully tonight.
Now, Frank, at your new station there in Ossipee, your transmitter and your studio are right together. You don't need an STL, correct?
Yeah, I have two different ISPs coming in here. We have the traditional one that comes over the coax. They're still building fiber out. This is a very rural area, so they have DSL. You have two choices: the cable company and the phone company. There's DSL. So I'm using the double bonded DSL. You can get 20 megs out of it, but more importantly, it always works. It's not very fast, but it's very reliable. Whereas the coax company, every time it rains, we get a notice. Andy will tell you, and I'm not going to mention the company. They stink. You get a notice. Sorry, your service is out. So how are we supposed to, rely on that if we want to be able to pipe in and check everything here? Because this is a locked room. When I'm, elsewhere, I want to log in and see what's going on. And Andy does too. And streaming too. We have streaming on the website. So we're using DSL for the station, but we have the residential grade one as a backup for I'm on that Wi-Fi right now. That's probably why I cut out. Maybe it was a rain drop.
And just to be clear though, you don't have an STL because you're in the same room.
Correct,
but use internet to remote control things and check.
Yeah, but the big picture is, we wanted to get on the air and we lost we wanted, if you picture the map, so we're at a lake, right, surrounded by mountains. We had a spot on a foothills of the Ossipee mountain range that was so ideal. It had a view of everything. We wanted to locate there, but that fell through. So just to get going, we actually put it on the roof of where I am now. And that's negative 300 feet HAAT. That we're 300 feet below average terrain right now. We could put it, and we could be 100 over average terrain. So we can put a 400-foot tower in the backyard, and that would suffice. But I don't have a 400-foot tower. So the big picture is, in the fall, in the winter, in the spring, I think I have the place to go. I've spoken to a person that's on a hilltop that's got some construction going on, and they're a fan and a supporter, and they're going to let us put, we think, our antenna up there. We're actually over the 100 over HAAT, so we're going to have to reduce power, but that's okay because height is might, right? So we're gonna do a lot better this winter, next spring, once we move up there. But for now, we cover the lake, and that's where the people are in the summertime. In the fall, it turns into a ghost town. But I'm hoping at that point we'll be making moves up higher.
There's a lot of us who don't know what that's really like when you have a vacation town that's populated only in the summertime.
Yeah.
I did have on a different trip to France to do some work with some dealers for Telos. A guy that I know here in Nashville offered the use of his loft apartment in a tiny small town in the southeast of France. Well, how can you say no, right? So, we went there. I took the family there, and we're going to spend a week there. We ended up not, because it was February and there was nobody around. So we drove over to the Mediterranean Sea, about a 20-mile drive, and I'd never seen a whole town. Everything was shuttered. Everything was closed. Literally, the shutters were all down. It was a ghost town. And when you say ghost town in a vacation place, now I know what you mean.
They roll up the sidewalks and see in the spring, basically. Yeah.
Gee, wow.
I mean, there's locals. There's people that snowmobile, and there's locals skiing and stuff like that. But we're not going to be able to reach them. We're down on the shores of the lake. We have to get up in the hills. That's the only way to do it. And it'll happen. I just don't know when.
Grady, when I did the ad for Nutel, I mentioned, because Nutel mentions that they have a couple different VX series transmitters, a 150 watt and a 300 watt, and they specifically say for LPFM. What is maybe different about a transmitter that's meant for LPFM versus one of their other range that they don't say that? They say it's 150 watts to 6 kilowatts. I guess what I'm asking, what requirements does LPFM have that may surprise people, or they need to be aware of?
I don't know of anything special about the transmitter, whereas with an FM translator, you always want to have FSK modulation of the carrier so that you don't have to do weird main channel IDs for the translator several times a day. Then you just put it on the air as Morse code, and then you just identify it as the FM of the logo, the sales pitch. But since the LPFM has its own call letters, and you have to say them, Frank, maybe you can tell me if you know something that I don't know.
I don't. Andy would know better, but all I've been doing is just putting out the legal ID at the top of the hour in the software here. But it'd be great if we had another safety net. I know the FSK for the translators, that's how they do it. But LPFM, I think we actually have to say it at the top of the hour, I'm pretty sure.
And since you guys had the Sage EAS gear there, LPFMs have to at least have the gear. What do you participate in the monthly, weekly tests? And if there's a national, presidential alert, you've got to do that, or how's that work? Yeah,
the same rules for the In fact, that box came from a commercial broadcaster. I traded electrical work for their extra EAS. That was Andy hooked me up with that. But we have to have all the same stuff they have. It's just that we have much less power. We have to play by all the same rules, with 100 watts instead of 100,000 watts.
Hey, it just occurred to me. I've got Grady Moates and I've got Frank here. Grady, you have built plenty of transmitter sites. Frank, you do electrical work, and I assume you even do some reasonably high-powered stuff that would be appropriate for a big commercial transmitter site. What kind of issues tend to crop up, and what can an engineer like Grady or other engineers listening, what can we do to be more communicative to help the engineer understand what we need at a transmitter site? And I realize it's going to vary widely, but what are some basic things that Grady, you and an electrician need to make sure that you communicate effectively on?
Well, I'll start with that because I have a background in programming. I got my first job in radio for a commercial station in 1963 when I was still a junior in high school, working weekends and nights. And that was back in the day when all the transmitter sites had tube-type transmitters, and there were no computers. We barely had cart machines. We were playing records on turntables because we weren't playing music on carts yet. So I've been through that entire growth period into solid state and all that stuff. And over the years, the requirements have changed dramatically, especially in the area of studio functionality. So my feeling is when you're going to build a facility, you really have to talk with the owners and the people who are going to program it to find out exactly what they see for their possibilities of sources. If you want to be able to go out into the community and do a remote broadcast, that's one thing. You can just do it with a wireless microphone into some kind of an internet thing. Or do you want to be able to actually have a little studio facility there that the people who come to the remote site can see, so it looks like a radio station is actually doing something? Then you have to have that kind of facility. And if you're going to do that, do you want to make it something that is like, okay, I'm going to build a little production room for my low power FM or my radio station, and I'm going to make it portable so that if I'm going to do a remote, I can pull the entire little production room facility out and put it in a little trailer so that it looks like a radio studio, but I don't have to have a completely equipped trailer kind of thing. You need to know whether they want to do just talk, or whether they want to do telephone, or whether they want to play music, or whether they want to have live music, or whether they want to have live interviews, because that really does get you right down to the nitty-gritty of how things are going to be put together to give you the maximum flexibility and your easiest growth path to things that Frank wants to be able to do later, but he can't do right now because he just doesn't have the staff. Frank?
Yeah, that's. I agree with that. Well, I think with LPFM, I mean, you could call it staff, but they're volunteers, and right now it's just Andy and I, the volunteers. So it's supposed to be community radio by the people, for the people, as I like to say. But I don't think people actually know about it. So they might find us accidentally. We've only been on a week. I need to get it out there more, that we're here. There was the newspaper articles were great. They probably half the people just think it's some streaming thing or whatever, but they're starting to hear us now. I've been getting actually some interesting things. People have been sending me texts of their dashboard RDS. Like they'll take a snapshot and they'll see the Ossipee. When they see the Ossipee on the dash, it's fun.
We're going to take a look at that video here shortly. Guys, we're going to take a quick commercial break for a couple of sponsors we all know and love. Rave is the new radio mixing console from Angry Audio. It's got up to 8 stereo line inputs, up to 4 microphone inputs, 2 output mix buses. It's also got 2 mix minus outputs with talkback, flexible monitoring for the board operator. There's a monitor feed to the studio guest with talkback, automatic monitor muting when the mics are open, and crystal clear metering and tallies. The control surface is machined and anodized aluminum. It's heavy, it's beautiful. The markings are all laser etched so as to never, ever wear out. It's easy installation with Studio Hub RJ45 connectors for the line inputs and outputs, and of course XLR connectors for the microphones. And there's a built-in power supply, no wall warts here, mic and line remote logic, and warning and user tally outputs for lighting, on-air signs, and annunciators. It's got preview, that is Q, on every channel, silky smooth faders, avionic style switches, and LED illumination, slick low-profile desktop design. Click on the website at angryaudio.com to check it out now. Thanks a lot, Angry Audio, for sponsoring our show. Hey, the other thing besides the Rave Mixer I want to talk about, and that is Max Connect, Max Connect Wireless. I got a quick testimonial here from our friend Gary Morrill talking about why he loves Max Connect Wireless and how it helps.
I'm Gary Morrill, Midwest Regional Director of Engineering for Alpha Media. When I first spoke with Josh Bone about Max Connect, he told me that it worked great for remote transmitter sites where connectivity was a challenge. And he's absolutely right. We even have sites where we're using this as a backup to our STL using Max Connect's dual carrier option, and it works perfectly. We also have times where we need to be able to get out to a venue where it's kind of challenging because everybody and his brother is trying to stream video at the same time, like at a big sporting event. And you know what? Our data gets through every time because it's prioritized packet data. It works for us. It'll work for you. Max Connect. Check it out.
Max Connect has saved my hide at several transmitter sites, and including the one I built last summer. in Oxford, Mississippi. Our fiber delivery was like 6 weeks late getting there, and we had to get on the air. So we got on the air. We didn't need to use the Max Connect for full-time STL because this was that site I've talked about before where we put the automations and everything at the transmitter site. But we had to communicate with the transmitter site to get the right things on the air, and Max Connect Wireless made that happen for us. Thanks a lot, Josh Bone, for coming up with this terrific idea, implementing it so that the rest of us engineers in broadcasting can enjoy it. MaxConnect.com. All right, we're here with some terrific engineers talking about a new LPFM. We're going to get to that joy part I mentioned here in just, well, actually, we're going to watch a video here in just a second. Frank, Andy, Grady, we got this video, and maybe let's see here if we can get Frank to set this up for us. This was on Facebook. Frank, tell me what we're going to be looking at here for a minute.
Well, this after that little picture, this is the moment we turn the transmitter on for the first time. Andy fired it up, made all the adjustments, all the settings. He is the engineer for this, and I went out to my vehicle and did a little video of the dashboard, from static to carrier to signal. And the first song we played was "On the Radio" by Donna Summer.
Oh, well, here.
Yeah, actually, interestingly, on social media, we put it out there to the people. I really hyped this a lot on all the major platforms, and I wanted. My big thing is I really want community participation, audience. I don't want to just be the guy doing this. So I said, give me a list of all your favorite songs about radio. Like everything that has the word radio in it or the theme of radio. And we came up with like 200 songs.
Oh my gosh.
We were going to be like all set for our first, 4 to 6 hours. And there would every genre of music, every type, just if it had to do about radio. So when push came to shove, we only had a few of them in our files. So we just ran with what we had. So.
All right. Well, I'm going to roll the video here and let's take a listen here.
Here is my request.
Engineer Andy here setting up the Nutel VX 300.
And I'm just heading out to my car to hear the sign on.
You have found 102.3 WGGG-LP Ossipee online at Ossipee1023.com.
How about that? I hope we don't get a DMCA tag.
Yeah,
here.
Don't get a deal on that one there.
that is so cool. If that's the way you sign. Now, something I noticed, you mentioned the call letters, of course, for the sign on, but
there's a story about that.
You don't. Well, it sounds like you don't push the call letters. You go a lot more by the slogan. Tell us about that. The call.
Yes, I'm using the slogan Ossipee 1023, mostly because it's the handle at all the social media platforms, and it's the website and everything. Oh, where am I? Another shameless plug. Okay, but here's the thing: the town is Ossipee, and when I first went on the database of the FCC, I saw that I could potentially get WOCP or WOZP. And when I got the construction permit, the next step was to choose the call letters. I went on there and I found that I guess the Navy grabs them in batches too for their ships, and both of those were no longer available. So I was thumbing through and found WGGG on there, which is like I always say it's kind of like hitting a slot machine with all sevens or all bars or something. I'm like, how do you get all three the same? And sure as heck, they were available, and I applied and we got it. And here's the website. Here's the thing, and then I went to Wikipedia and looked it up. I says, what is this? So it was an AM station that was around since the 40s or so in Gainesville, Florida, WGGG, Gainesville, Florida. They went out. I know there was some LPFM applications down there. Maybe they were going to grab them, but I was able to get them. And my thinking for using that is the following. Another commercial broadcaster that Andy and I both work for,
said to me, he says, I once had a set of call letters and I sold them to one of the big broadcast, nationwide outfits. They gave me 10 grand for the call letters. I'm like, wow, that's clever. Maybe that would happen to us. And then we can just take whatever. It doesn't really matter what we use. It's just for the top of the hour. We could really use that money. I mean, like we're running on a shoestring budget. So that would be a windfall if that happened. So I didn't want to get too attached to them. They're there where it's like park the calls, that's where, and, if we could sell them, great. So
that's cool. That moment of sign on. So you had to have some real emotion. Look, I've been part of a sign on in Eastern Kentucky on the top of a hill, and the guy could only afford a transmitter that, let's just see, had seen better days 30 years earlier. It was, I mean, there was a bird's nest and we had to clean that out. We had to change frequencies. It was an old RCA. It was old. And we got the thing going. We got his 950 megahertz S2. No, he was on phone lines. He had supposedly equalized phone lines from the studio. We left, I don't know, a CD. Maybe they had actually a CD player, but we left something playing at the studio, and we hit, in fact, I let the guy's name was Joey Dick. Joey Dick. and he
can't make this up.
No, you can't. And Joey was he was really country. And he had one of these voices like this. He talked like this, And so I said, Joey, it's time to put the station on the air. Now, I had already tested it because I didn't want to be embarrassed. But I spent 3 days, just on this transmitter. And I said, Joey, it's time for you to hit that button right there and put this thing on the air. And so he's starting little tears welling up in his eyes, and he pushed the button, and of course I had a radio there, and the radio came on, and he just started bawling to stop. I've been working on this for 8 years. You can't believe how happy I am. Have any of you had an experience like that? Did you feel that way yourself?
I don't know, but I really wanted that story to end with, plates on and then like all the lights go out in the building. That would have been absolutely perfect, but we didn't get that ending. It's okay.
There's plenty more stories about that transmitter site, mostly with the carpenter who he hired. Remember the TV show The Dukes of Hazzard?
Oh yeah.
Okay. Take some ne'er-do-well from Dukes of Hazzard. That was the carpenter, and the carpenter was always growing. They were always a little honked off that they'd read a newspaper article. It says here, Orange County, California, is the biggest pot producing county in the nation. And they looked at each other and said, damn it, can't we be number one at something? Yeah, there's stories. But anyway, back to our story. I don't want to steal any of your thunder. Tell me about the feeling, the elation. Come on, there had to be something good.
Oh yeah, it was exciting, really. Like I said, just seeing the RDS was like, wow, this is real now. It says our slogan on the RDS. So then it's like, all right, now what do we do? We built it. Now we're gonna run it.
You make an interesting point about seeing the RDS, and that's something most of my radio career has been without RDS. In the last 5-6 years, my stations have made a real effort to make sure it's on everything. Title and artist get on the air. The automation is tied in. We've made a real effort, and thank goodness. I mean, because there's competition, right, on your dashboard.
Yep.
But that does kind of help to make it real, doesn't it?
It's interesting. Andy can tell you this too. When he showed up, he had a modern rental car, and the RDS was different. It was like it was taking the audio from over the air, but taking the data from someplace else. What do they call that? There's a name for it. The technology. I think I might have brought it up.
Radio DNS.
Radio something.
Like from
Radio
the screen?
DNS. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and it was doing funny things.
Interesting. Yeah, that's the beauty of standards. There are so many of them.
Yeah.
Wow.
I swear, of all the work I've done for countless number of stations, they get the most excited about RDS, and I'm not even sure why. The audio can sound like crap, but if you got RDS, I don't know. It's just something that brings people a curiosity or something. I don't know what it is, but All of my stations pretty much have to have them at this point because everybody's got to be, we got to have that.
With the low power level, I'm not sure there's any point in it, but can an LPFM do an HD?
Not with this transmitter, but if you get the VS.
Yeah. I mean, legally you could. It probably wouldn't be worth it unless you're in a very populated area.
Well, there's some interesting rules.
Yeah.
On the commercial side, the HD2 can feed a translator, but on the LPFM side, you can do an HD2, and you can own 2 translators, but your translators have to relay your first channel. So starting another program, unless that translator is owned by another entity.
Sure.
But if for a nonprofit, and that's something I'd like to look at in the future, potentially to where our signal is kind of compromised. If we could get a translator, that would solve it. We're kind of boxed in with this. We have only a limited area where we can put this thing.
Yeah.
Well, it's a very interesting situation that you have, Frank, because when you get your antenna up high on the side of the hill, serving the valley really well, the surrounding terrain will protect you from signals on the and first adjacent channels nibbling in, eating at the HD carrier groups on either side, which means that it'll be more stable than the low power stations, for instance, that we have here in Boston. Because if you're a low power station and you have IBOT carriers, they go hardly anywhere before stuff is snipping at your coverage area, and any HD2 or HD3 signal is pretty useless because it goes away because there's no analog to support it when the digital runs out. You're in a pretty good position to turn IBOC on at your place.
Yeah, but I'm not quite sure that people have. Well, they would in cars, I guess, have it. But I bought a new vehicle that didn't have HD radio, and I was very surprised by that. They said, a chip shortage from COVID or something, but you still can't get it even now in a Chevy Silverado. So it's like, even no matter what package you buy, the truck. But a lot of vehicles just did away with it. They just don't. I don't know why.
We've, I'm sorry, I don't know which brands it was, but my business partner, Larry Fuss, was recently in the market for a new car for some of our stations in Mississippi. And there was some, maybe it was, I don't know what brand, there was some brand he was going to buy, but you couldn't get HD radio at any price in any model. And then he went over to another brand, and all of them came standard with HD radio. So what a big difference from one manufacturer of cars to another as to how they think about HD radio.
Or the year. I mean, I had the same vehicle, an older one, lesser model, and it had it. A newer one, newer model, better model, and it didn't have it. So there's really no justification for it. I don't know.
And then there's my situation where one of my stations in Boston is MA3, all digital AM, and I specifically bought the highest trim package of the Ford plug-in Escape that I bought, because it's the only way that I could get the HD receiver in my dashboard. And when it finally got delivered and I got in my car and turned the radio on, it didn't pick anything up. And so I called the salesman over and I said, you got an extra $12,000 from me just to get this car, and it won't pick up my MA3 all digital AM. And he said, oh, move over. And I move over, and he gets in, and he goes, boop, 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 and all of a sudden it's coming in. It turns out that many of the automobile dealers turn off the HD receiving capability in the receivers because so many radio stations for so many years didn't have enough good engineering capability, equipment, local people to keep the analog and the digital properly aligned. And whenever it would fail, and then there would be this echo, people would bring the cars in to get them serviced because their radios were malfunctioning. And the dealer said, I don't want to deal with that. So they defeat it.
Oh my goodness. Wow.
That is interesting.
Yeah. I mean, and yeah, we shoot ourselves in the foot, and we don't know it. Wow, amazing. Guys, we got to take one more quick break, and then we're going to come back. We'll get a quick tip of the day or a word of positivity or something from each of you, and then we'll call it quits for the day. It's This Week in Radio Tech. I'm Kirk Harnack. We're here with Grady Moates, Andy Denoncour, and Frank Licata talking about putting a new FM on the air, and it's been a lot of fun. We got a quick word here from Vox Pro and Broadcasters General Store.
Hey, what's happening? St. John here, coming to you from Command Central, and wanted to tell you about the absolute best partner you can have in radio. I'm talking about, boom, Wheatstone's Vox Pro. Lots of different audio software out there. Why Vox Pro? It's the only software designed to do what we needed to do, which is record, edit, playback in real time. When I say lightning fast, I'm going to show you how fast you can edit stuff up in Vox Pro right now. So literally 3 clicks on the controller, mark left, mark right, everything that gets marked, you hit delete, it goes away. It's literally that fast. So we're going to take this part right here. Boom. From caller 9 to him saying, I'm ready.
Ready for that secret sound.
Boom. All of that stuff, hit delete, it goes away. Here's your edit.
You are tackling secret sound caller 9. I'm ready, St. John.
One of the best features of version 7, this is awesome. It's effects macros, and you can literally put a chain of effects together so that instead of having to normalize a phone bit and then use noise reduction on it and EQ it and all that, you can literally build a chain. One button, this one's called call right here. I just click that. All of those processes happen instantaneously. Final thing that I love about Vox Pro, and there's so much more to get into, but one of my favorite things, you can load it on a laptop. I've literally done my show from a hotel room in Armenia to the conference room at, this was fun, jury duty. Great thing, no one could tell the difference. Vox Pro makes it totally easy. Telling you, if you're looking for the best on-air partner, call my friends at Wheatstone, ask them about Vox Pro, and you will be glad you did.
I want to call the folks at Broadcasters General Store, BGS. The website is bgs.cc, and the phone number is 352-622-7700. Same phone number for years and years and years. They got a great team of people there, the whole sales team there. You got Chris Harple, you got Hugh Price, Candace Price, Travis Tibbett, David Antoine, Carly McBride, my goodness, Jessica Schutz, she's been there forever, and her brother John, and Gary Tibbett, as we call him, Gary Thibault. So check it out, Broadcasters General Store. They really appreciate them sponsoring This Week in Radio Tech, and they're the first place you should go. They got sharp pencils, good deals, and they can tell you when your gear is going to be delivered. Nice people, too. All right, it's This Week in Radio Tech. We got our final couple of minutes here. We're going to, unfortunately, we're just out of time. We've been yapping for an hour now, and so we should go around the horn and get some words of advice. And I'm gonna go in reverse order here and hit Grady up first. I see Grady has some advice behind him on his green screen. It looks like a fancy antenna.
Yeah, we can talk about that some other time.
Yes, we will. We will.
My only comment here is go with your heart. When you feel that fist of joy rising in your chest because you've saved a local radio station service or you've started a new one in a market that doesn't have one, it's why we do what we do. I've been in this business since I was 15. I'm 76 and a half. And my most recent thing is I saved an AM station in Hamden, Connecticut that had lost its tower site by building a long wire on a goat farm a mile away and putting the transmitter equipment in a World War II surplus explosives magazine box. And all the programming comes from 8 feet under my seat here because we don't have studios yet. And we built it, we saved it. We've been trying to build people to build it, to run it locally. And we don't have enough money to build studios down there. But anyway, go with your heart because you'll keep doing this as long as you live, and it'll keep you alive into your hundreds.
Great advice. Love that. Love the passion, too. Andy, we're going to hit you up next. If you got a tip of the week, some advice to send our listeners away with.
Well, yeah, I'm not going to take it in a technical route, but I guess if I had one thing to remind people of is that paying it forward is a big thing. I've been very lucky. I've had mentors, people who were never too busy to answer a question, whether it was stupid or a real question. And I try to do that when I see somebody in need of some info, some help, whatever. I try to remember that there were people always ready to answer a question for me, and I always try to be somebody who will answer a question for somebody else, and that's all.
Oh, that's very true. Over my career, Comrex has done that for me, and so did ITC when they were in business. Boy, and the techs at Harris and Continental certainly explained a lot of things to me over time. All right, Frank, you get the last word here of some departing word of advice.
Well, there's a saying that says you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. And another saying that says, never be the smartest guy in the room. If you like, these two over here are geniuses, right? So they're my colleagues, customers, friends. We do work together. We have fun together. We laugh together. Tip a glass together once in a while. Those kind of smarts will rub off on you. And likewise, I have something to offer too, but more importantly, I like to absorb. Like every time I'm doing a job, I'm doing the job, but I'm also like a sponge absorbing. Oh, that's how they did that. Oh, okay. Now I get it. It's the best education you'll get. It's in the real world. You can't get it from a book. You have to go be amongst these people and pick up what they know, and it'll just naturally flow. Give something back too. Like Andy said, pay it forward. Give it, to someone else, but also, it's a give and take. And the other parting word is it's Independence Day. Be independent. This LPFM, one of the most exciting things about it is that it's you built a platform that, as long as you play by the rules, no one's can shut you off. Whereas right now you're going through big tech, and if they don't like you, they can shut you off. If Google or whoever, that's the other thing. Like in a streaming world, and micro broadcasting is sort of it's old technology, but it's good technology, because when the internet goes down, as it does in this area, the ISP stinks. You can still tune into a radio.
That's right. That's right. You're still on. Great advice, guys. I wish we had more time, but Grady, Andy, Frank, thank you so much for being with us. It's been a real pleasure. You made me think about the things that I've gotten to put on the air and share the joy with what you guys did too. So really, really appreciate you. Happy 4th of July, happy Independence Day, and may we continue with the spirit of independence and freedom for all of us. All right. I want to thank Suncast, the producer of the show normally, and if you saw any mistakes today, they weren't his fault. They were me, because Suncast was not producing this show. He just added some nice graphics at the end. So Suncast, thanks very kindly for that. Hopefully Chris Tarr will be back with us next week, and we'll see you next week on This Week in Radio Tech. Bye-bye.